For scripture this morning, let's take a look at Hebrews 11, verses 8 to 10. Short, but very powerful. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to set out for a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. As he set out, not knowing where he was going, by faith he stayed for a time in the land he had been promised, as in a foreign land, living in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked forward to the city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to meet several of you this morning and hear your stories about Family Promise. I love Family Promise, and I love Wichita, and I love this collaborative community, extended family that's come together around this same cause. I think it's really beautiful. And as you can see on the screen, our mission is to unite groups, to empower homeless families, to help them towards sustainable independence. And that is a pretty big, tall order. And we'll get to that a little bit further on, but I want to start with belonging. This theme of belonging keeps showing up in my life recently, and so I have been trying to pay attention and listen to God's leading on that. When you keep coming across something, it seems like maybe you should listen. So I'm here to testify about how God has used belonging in Family Promise and in my life a little as well. The verses that we just read from Hebrews have been really impactful for me at some points recently where I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do in life and feeling like I didn't know where I was going. So I can only guess that homeless families, if they're in a circumstance like that, just feel even more, far beyond upended from some of those feelings I've been feeling. And I wanted to read Hebrews 11 once more. This is from the New American Standard Version, but it's very similar to what we just heard. By faith, Abraham, when he was called, obeyed by going out to a place which he was to receive for an inheritance, and he went out not knowing where he was going. By faith, he lived as an alien in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, fellow heirs of the same promise. For he was looking for the city which has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. Oh, I wanted to pray to get started. Can we do that real quick? Father God, thank you that you love us and you love Family Promise and the families that we're able to serve. And would our words and minds and hearts be honoring to you today, and would your kingdom be more and more manifest in our lives. Amen. So, belonging. I traveled to Guatemala last month, which is a whole separate story in itself. But I got to see a lot of different places and mountains, lakes, a fair trade coffee farm, big city, small town, the coast. And so through all of these places, though, I started to notice that the biggest deal to me in each spot was the people. And especially in another culture and dealing with another language, things were very upended in life. And so when I had a host family or I made friends in that town, I was instantly bonded to those people, sometimes clinging to them. Let me just hang out with you, because I felt such a connection and a spot to belong. And I'm really thankful for those people along the way. So when I returned, I've been starting to notice those places in the rest of life where I feel this sense of belonging too. And they're actually kind of hard to come by sometimes in our culture, as busy as we all are. So for all of my life, I've had relatively stable situations as far as housing, job, transportation, food, clothing. And so if belonging with people is already a challenge for me, I think it must go far beyond if you're in a homeless crisis where you've run out of resources, feeling out of control and alone. Before we all got into this Family Promise deal, we were kind of surprised by some of the stats and heartbroken that 1 in 4 homeless people is a child. 1 in 5 is a child 5 years old or younger. Children in homelessness get sick and have more health issues many times over what other kids do. 4 times more likely than their peers to show delayed development, and they graduate at a lower rate. Children in homelessness are 34 times more likely to end up in foster care, and it's kind of astonishing that 30% in foster care could return to their parents if they had stable housing. So these children are the reason why we started Family Promise here in Wichita, because we want kids to have a home, we want families to stay together, and it's really important that we offer that extended family network. And I've started to notice we're offering this extended family, really, a place to belong, people to call their own. So this offer is belonging is about doing life together with others, walking through the fun as well as the hardships. And I've seen this in a lot of different places in the program where people are finding family connections. One is with guest families and the staff. I see case managers who are in their lives every day, and that's rare. In a lot of other places, maybe people meet with a case manager once a week if they're in need, but our case managers are sharing their twists and turns and checking in on their goals and how did that job interview go, because of the day house setup where the offices are and the families spend their time during the day. That has worked out really beautifully because they're really doing life with the staff there. Guests have repeatedly said to me that people actually really care here. And I firmly believe that in other agencies, the people, the volunteers and staff care there too. But what we have to offer is this personal family touch. That's something I think that makes us really unique. So I've seen guests finding belonging with each other, which is also wonderful. I was recently at the day house on a Saturday afternoon, and they were working there were 3 single moms, I believe, probably the same ones you all just hosted recently. And they were coordinating who was going to take care of the cleaning chores and who was going to give the children baths at which time and how it was all going to happen before they had to return to the host congregation that night, and just working together like a family. And I thought that was really sweet. When I think about the most powerful gifts that we have to give to homeless families, belonging keeps coming back as a theme. Many people are willing to give money and giving some time, but this extra quality of really entering into someone else's life and circumstances is where the really good stuff begins. I think this is something that Jesus offered when he came to be with us on earth too, showing us how to love and taking responsibility for our sin and suffering so that we could do life together with God. So this Family Promise to me is a manifestation of God's kingdom here on earth, which is, I just can't say enough about how awesome that is. We hear a lot in homeless advocacy that people don't become homeless because they run out of resources. It's because they run out of money. It's because they run out of relationships. And I think this has never seemed more true. So many of us, if we had a problem that was about to cause us to become homeless, would have someone we could call on, a network of people, a church family, biological family. We have a lot of those connections. And so families in a homeless crisis have run out of relationships. So the awesome thing, too, is that the families are offering belonging back to us. When I show up at the day house, people are giving me hugs. They're giving me encouraging words. That day that they were coordinating cleaning at the day house, I was cleaning something, too, and one of them came in and said, "You're doing a really great job." And I'm so glad you came today. And we had just met that day, so she hadn't been seeing me over time, or she just knew I was in there doing something. And so I thought that was sweet. They were welcoming me into this world that is their home right now. One little 4-year-old girl who was in the program used to come when we were having meetings at the day house, used to interrupt meetings and come sit on somebody's lap or talk to us, and nobody minded. And I just really appreciated her kind of reaching out, extending love to us as well. I see volunteers bonding together as they share a common mission. My hope is that this will continue as we're seeking out more congregations, thinking about a second rotation of hosts. So we're looking at even broadening our diversity of denominations and potentially faiths as well. So I'm excited about that same team. We're all on the same team about family homelessness. A guest single mom once told me that she doesn't have family really, but the church is my family now. That was her quote. Later, we were at a graduation party for another family, and she introduced me to another volunteer and kind of welcomed us both in and said, "What? You guys don't know each other? We thought all the volunteers knew each other like celebrities." I said, "Oh, well, thank you." But a few weeks later, she and her family had graduated, her and her 2 teenage children, and they returned for another graduation for another family. And as they walked into the room, the teenage son did this, held up his hands like a celebrity. And all of these children and volunteers and friends swarmed their family. And it was such a beautiful moment because they have become their own heroes, their own celebrities in their world. And that's what we're about. That's what we're about. So this week, we've been celebrating Family Promise Week all week because across the country, nationwide, over 200 affiliates are doing this work in different cities. And so we're really thankful to be a part of that and for the mentoring and guidance Family Promise National has given us as we get started. And board members like me are visiting congregations to say thank you for your participation. We're thanking volunteers and congregations who are uniting to work on this to keep families together, supported, sheltered, and healthy. Nationwide, you can see a few of the statistics on what Family Promise did last year altogether. But what you really probably will love is when we get to talk about that for us. We want to express our deep gratitude for the hospitality you've shown to our guest families. We've only been open 1 year, and so much has happened and changed in that time. A special thank you to your coordinators, Pastor Allen and Chris, whose passion have helped keep your congregation involved. And I've been really thankful for Tara serving on the communications team with me as well. We have, as you probably know, 3 phases to our program. The kind of emergent, urgent needs, the rotation program, which is where they stay overnight, and that's the most intense one, and then the aftercare and mentoring. So because of your commitment and involvement, we have some awesome numbers to report on how we've helped people across all those phases. More than 500 people we've been able to connect with this year who are members of a family with children have been provided services across all those phases of our program. Through your countless donations of supplies, many of the families were provided diapers, toiletries, transportation, a place for showers and laundry, and other resources. Your gifts of time, talent, and treasure made it possible for 57 people, including 18 adults and 39 children, to come into the rotation overnight program, where they receive caring support from our staff, interns, and volunteers. They set and met goals, and they learned and practiced budgeting, parenting, and life skills. We served a total of 16 families in the rotation program. Thanks to your congregation and 28 others across Greater Wichita, we have done 2,277 bed nights of shelter, 6,831 meals, about 990 rides to get children to school and daycare, parents to work, job interviews, and then, of course, every day to and from the host congregation and the day center. I actually think the rides number has to be low because if you've seen this giant chart at the day house, it's this big, takes up the whole hallway. They have to coordinate. The staff are coordinating all of the time how to get people to the places they need to go, to all of those I just listed, because we don't want transportation to be a barrier to sustainable independence. And we work on the transportation part too, which leads me to my next stat. Through people who have donated vehicles, 5 families are working towards a vehicle of their own with some kind of a case goal, for example, getting their GED. And then they will earn this vehicle that has been donated to our program. We will give it to them. That's a huge step towards independence. Since our first family graduated on February 18, we have assisted 6 more families from our rotation program into permanent or transitional housing. 2 more are going to graduate this week. We're very excited about that. 4 families are currently in our aftercare program, and we're expanding that to partner with the Wichita Circles Network, which is a really helpful piece for moving people from poverty into a more sustainable life as well. You've helped us celebrate graduations and provided furniture and helped families move in. They're all working on longer-term goals now as they keep moving forward. One family is in our first transitional housing unit, which is a partnership with a landlord so that the family can pay just a percentage of their income lower than market rate so that they can keep working towards sustainable independence. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have accomplished so many wonderful things together this year in this extended network of people who are joining together. And we still have a lot to do because there's still a lot of need. We have to keep learning and improving our services, and we will keep you updated on those as we grow and think of new ways to do things, ways that you can be involved. Everybody can be involved in some form or fashion. That's one of the awesome things about Family Promise, is there's all these different jobs that you can do no matter what your skill set is. And I talked to several of you this morning. Thank you for all the things you're contributing, driving and staying overnight and meals and spending time with guests. But something else you can do is talk to everyone you know about Family Promise, people at other congregations, work contacts, friends, and family. The more we get the word out, the broader we can expand our base of support. Also, first of all, for people understanding the need, and then people who want to do something to be part of the solution. Once we have enough congregations for a second rotation, we can serve twice as many families. So they would be doing the same thing as what we're currently doing in another circle of people. You can also help by donating supplies. We have on our website a wish list of things we are always in need of, infant supplies and small gift cards to certain places. So having a drive of those or having friends get together and pitch in. Also to create a housewarming bundle so that when a family moves into a new home, they have things like a mop and a broom and just stuff that they don't have to think about that expense also in the transition of all that change. You can also, of course, volunteer your time and enter into life with families, spend time with those people, and share your life as well as learn from theirs. I'm really thankful that we get to learn both ways. It's a very dignifying way to do life together rather than us claiming we have all the answers, because we can learn some things. So all of these opportunities and more information is on our website and our Facebook. We frequently post updates there too. Family Promise Week is a time we're asking everyone to think about, what do I have to give? Everyone does have something to contribute. And if you love a good party with a purpose, we're having our annual fundraising gala this next Saturday night at the Hyatt, and I can tell you more about that later too if you'd like to know. So we've had a really big year. But back to belonging, we're sharing more than just a bed, a meal, and a ride. We're opening this whole network of support to families and to ourselves through involvement with Family Promise. These connections mean that resources are accessible, that friends in a homeless crisis don't have to go through life alone, that through stability, children are empowered to succeed and impact the world on an even deeper level. Together with the families we serve, we're partnering to change family trees. And I don't think that's overstating it. I think that's the truth. Love and belonging are some of the most powerful gifts we can offer to each other. So that's something to think about too, where else you can offer that to people in life. There are many ways we can talk about belonging in a spiritual sense, of course, as we've been welcomed to God's family or adopted as children. But I'll finish with a verse from my favorite chapter of the Bible, where God as Redeemer makes this crazy declaration about where we belong. And then we'll have just a short video that is a thank you from Family Promise as well. Isaiah 43, verse 1. But now, thus says the Lord your Creator, O Jacob, and he who formed you, O Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Thank you for your involvement, and there's going to be another thank you on this video.
Seen homelessness, people at busy intersections or in a park with all their belongings in a shopping cart or a trash bag. What's less familiar to us is the idea of homeless families, parents and their children wrestling with the gut-wrenching challenges of being displaced together. In USD 259 alone, over 2,450 school children found themselves in a homeless situation in 2016, and very few shelters allow children. So homeless families with children are forced to sleep in cars or couch surf with friends and family until their welcome runs out. The bus doesn't stop where they're sleeping on the couch or in their car, and they want to spend their last dollar on food instead of gas to drive their children to school. This makes it hard to develop a marketable skill or look for work. All the while, our houses of worship stand empty.
My name is Jacqueline Cook-Green. I'm the Executive Director of Family Promise of Greater Wichita. We are serving homeless families with children in the Wichita community. We're doing that with the help of the faith community using an existing resource model where faith communities actually open their doors and host our families, providing them with shelter and meals.
At Pathway Church, we're a host congregation. That means that 4 times a year, we get to host homeless families right here at Pathway Church. We host them for a week at a time, usually around 3 to 4 months apart.
What we do is we provide transportation to the families from the day center, which is where they have their permanent residence. And they come to our church. We have a group of volunteers who serves them a meal. And then usually they spend time with them. They hang out with the kids. And then we have some volunteers that come and stay overnight since the families sleep here at our building.
We've got multiple classrooms that folks can spend the night in. We've got a fellowship hall, a kitchen, bathrooms.
In our church, a lot of people say they want to help. They say they want to impact the homeless community and homeless families, but it's tough to get them started. And Family Promise really gives our congregation a chance to dip their toe in the water.
Everything is so simple, in my opinion, to set up. The cots are easy. Family Promise has actually given us a lot of resources to be able to do it.
It was a lot of structure. We had to be up very early every morning to leave the church to go back to the day house, get everyone ready from there. Had to do so many job searches a day. Once I got my job, I had to be at work every day. There was always someone there to talk to. There was always someone there to help if you needed it. And now I have the opportunity to turn around and give back to those families and to the community.
Folks run out of relationships, and I believe that God has designed the church to be those relationships in a great way.
We always look for partners who are really helping out in the development of people, of family, and not just relief. We love Family Promise because they offer a hand up to these homeless families and not just a handout.
It's made our people thankful for what God has given them, and then it's also given them an opportunity to see that people that are in this situation of being homeless, they're just like them. They have good times, they have bad times, they have struggles, and it's been an opportunity for us to be there with them through that.
It's been neat to see our perception on the homeless community here in Wichita change, that we realize that they're people. They are God's children, and we have been called to love them. And yes, some of the times they may have made bad decisions, but if you're like me, I've made bad decisions too. And it usually takes other people here to surround us with encouragement and love and help us in those bad times. You know, really, they didn't have any hope. They didn't know what the future looked like. They didn't know how to get out of the holes that they were in. And then when I talked to them 3 months later, they had kind of a sense of respect. They have a sense of purpose.
You'll never know just how much you help a family until you do it. It gives us a safe place. It gives our kids a safe place for us to do what we need to do.
Because of the efforts of your congregation over the past year, Family Promise of Greater Wichita has been able to help precious families with children go from homelessness and hopelessness to housing and hope. Thank you for your efforts. A volunteer bringing in a lasagna or a youth group playing Uno with homeless children is not just local outreach. It's part of a national movement of people of faith united in the belief that we can and will end family homelessness.
Hayesville Christian Church stands with Family Promise.
Northridge Friends Church stands with Family Promise.
Grace Point Church stands with Family Promise.
East Heights United Methodist Church stands with Family Promise.
Westridge Community Church stands with Family Promise.
The Lorraine Avenue Mennonite Church stands with Family Promise.
Thank you for standing with Family Promise.